righty. All right. And again, thank you all for joining us for Tea Time and Align. Tea Time and Align is our special time to come together as women, wives, moms, ladies, and even it's open to our young ladies as well, to come together and to learn and grow from one another. A couple of years ago, right in the midst of the pandemic, I was given this idea to align. And align is simply an opportunity for us to come together to access information, to learn, and to implement. How many times have we gone or participated in podcasts or webinars or even conferences, and we gather all this information and we hold on to it? You know, we never have an opportunity to implement it or to apply it to our daily lives. So a part of Align is to implement this information now. So we try to have relevant topics that you can apply to your daily lives so that we can accomplish our purpose. One of the missions that God has given me is something called Daily Pearls for Girls. And I started this when I was going through a difficult time with grief and some depression, and also, you know, as a caregiver for my child that was having some significant mental health challenges at the time. I realized that there was so much that I wanted to teach her. And there were times when we simply were not together. But as I was going through that with her, I learned that there was so much more that I needed to know as a wife and as a mom, and just as someone who's just driven, you know, and ambitious, that sometimes we need a community. We need support from one another so that we can grow and continue to, I call it walk in wisdom and live on purpose. Because really, you know, what are we doing if we aren't doing those things? So I like to give a brief overview anytime we come together, so that for those of you that may be new, or some of you that have participated in past sessions, we will have an opportunity, just as a reminder of why we're coming together. I think that's very important. So today, I want to know what you're sipping on. All right. Before I get to our special guest. So in the chat, if you could just drop us a line. If you want to come off mute, feel free to do so as well. Let us know what you are sipping on. I love new ideas, new ways, new teas. Today is just a regular green tea day with some lemon. And Denise is sipping on her ginger tea. All right. Anyone else care to share? This is our time to hear your voice. Oh, Jennifer's having coffee. It's a cold, rainy day here, so coffee sounds really good. All right. Excuse me, Jada has her green tea with honey. All right, good deal. Well, again, we thank you for joining. This is our time to sit back and relax. And today we have a dynamic speaker. This is a young lady that I have watched mature over the years. It's really it's amazing how life works. I don't like to call it strange or coincidental, but Jennifer's brother and my husband were college roommates. So there may have been a time or two I was at the house. Oh, and they rented the house from Jennifer's parents. So John's landlord was Jennifer's dad. It was just such a small world. But I remember seeing Jennifer around, even as a young lady. She had to be maybe in elementary or middle school at the time. I feel so old. But it is amazing to have her as not only a part of my family, but also I'm happy to call her a friend. But Jennifer is the mother of 3 and wife for over 18 years. I know she doesn't look a day over 18 herself, but she has been married. She's also an educator for almost 22 years, and she works as a coordinator and lead teacher. And her goal is to help youth develop. She's the owner of Growth Achieved, and it provides services for youth. And you can find out more about her business at growthachieved.org. And I had an opportunity to check it out earlier today, and I had no idea she was doing all of these amazing things to help our young people. So I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer and let her take it from here. I'm excited about this topic. I hope you all are as well. We are talking about mindset, get your mind together, affirmations and routines. So Jennifer, we are so glad that you are here, and I am going to turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Jacqueline. And I would watch Jacqueline as she was in college and everything, and she became an example for me. So we're just all working together and doing whatever is needed. So thank you for that introduction. And as Jacqueline even mentioned about why she started Tea Time and Align, that's similar to why we chose this topic today, because we all do serve as so many other type in different capacities. Right now, I'm a caregiver of my parents, and we're to that point of constantly, making sure they have the proper care. I'm also a mother of 3 and a wife and full-time employed, and my employment is kind of like a contract that's split where I'm supposed to be part-time and part-time, but it's more like 2 full-time. So with all of that, when you manage that and then trying to pursue other passions that I have in the community, your time can just get away from you, right? How many of y'all have ever felt that way? Kind of put an emoji up by your name or raise your hand. That time sometimes can just make things overwhelming. So I started to join. Have y'all been on Clubhouse before? Okay. So on Clubhouse, they had this session where it was a lot like morning routines. And I liked listening to the Clubhouse presentation, but then I'm a Christian, so I like listening to things that's biblical based. I started noticing they kind of would add in a bunch of other stuff to try to meet everyone's characteristics. So I was like, well, let me study this a little bit more about morning routines. And when I started to do that, I realized that my mornings had been extremely rushed. Literally, I'm a night owl, so I would wake up and, depending on my mood, choose my clothes, grab, start the Keurig, get all my kids ready, just say, okay, we're going to take your brush and put it in the car. Let's go. It's time to go. And I'm in the carpool line and they're all like, you're late. You have to come in and sign your kid in. And it started to get a little bit too much, right? And I know, I see Jada right there. I think they probably seen me in the carpool line speeding through the parking lot, just kind of needing to slow it down. So I own, she's laughing. I own what I was doing. I own it. I know it was too much. And I had to just stop and say, you need to slow down. And I started noticing it in myself, and even dealing with in the morning, you still have to deal with parent things, right? Because like I said, the caregiver part, I would maybe talk to their nurse or whatever and be like, oh, they did what? Or have to stop and go all the way, an hour away to them, depending on the day. So my days started to get very hectic. And I was like, I have to stop and figure out something else to do. And of course, I do have a great partner, my husband, Brian, but it's like still, as you know, that you have routine, commitment and responsibility, routine can be helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay. So, as we begin, I'm always going to have like a goal. Today, we will discuss and share out about how our mornings can affect our entire day. From the time that you get up, the way that you start that morning could trickle on down through the day. A morning routine is said to boost happiness, increase productivity, reduce stress levels, and get you grounded and settled for the day. It's about getting started on the right foot. And a morning routine also allows you to start your morning with intention. You will begin to see it sprinkled throughout your entire day. So, we have checklists and things like that we try to do, but then sometimes they don't work well. So I want everyone to kind of look at this screen here. And if you would, if you can relate, just kind of put a note in the chat or do an emoji on your screen. But which side do you connect with the most? So on this side, we have, I woke up on the wrong side of bed. But then on this side, we have, today is going to be the day. Okay, on the other side, I can't wait until Friday. Or it says, this is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Okay, I'm seeing some people in the chat. I will be okay once I have my coffee. Or thank you, Lord, for a new day, or I can do anything I put my mind to. I just want to just take off. You may have some days like that. So just kind of look through there. Okay, I see 10 more minutes, please. The left side, some people are thinking about. Some people say the right side. All right, well, amen to the right side. All right. And then some people say they're a little bit of both. Okay, I understand that. So, I mean, it depends on the day, right? How you plan and what you put your mind to. Okay, right. So this was big for me because I was empty. I was like, okay, I'm too much on this left side. And I found myself being negative. So if I'm negative and then other people are negative, then everybody's having a bad day, right? So, and then it depends on people even that you work with or whatever, which side are they on? And that even affects your day too, right? So with looking at this right here, how can we get to be more on the right side? To where we think about, I can do anything I put my mind to, or, my family is blessed. My life is blessed, the Michael Todd, my job is blessed. I am blessed type of mentality. So looking at this, I decided to stop and do something. So if there's any comments that you have other than what you put in the chat, you can unmute and talk now. Does any of this, do you want to say anything? Does it resonate with you? Is this an amen area? Any conversation?
Amen and amen. So relatable for me. And I agree. What I found for me in my house,
right.
I really help dictate the mood of the home. And once I figured this out, it really changed the way that I approach each day. And sometimes I do need that 10 more minutes so that I can get my mind right in the right space so that I can face whatever the day holds. In those moments when I feel rushed or, maybe I don't like to say I wake up on the wrong side of the bed. I just needed a few more minutes. It spills over into other areas of my life. So I found that this is critical to beginning each day properly for me. So thank you. This is really good.
Okay. And then we had some more people comment in the chat. I saw that one person said, well, at the beginning, like in her younger days, she would live on that left side, but as she's gotten older, on the right. Someone else said, I truly believe if you are graced to wake up, it's a good day. And they said they thank God for being alive. That is so true. And when we have that perspective, we do better. That can be a part of your morning routine. Someone else said, I try to stay on the right side, but I can sometimes slip onto the left side, but have to reel themselves back in. And some people say just left, but you know what? I think right now, this is tea time and align. So just to align your thinking, just get your mind right, just to kind of say, where am I? This could be like a checkpoint for that so that you can maybe make plans today even to change that. Okay. So that's why I put these on here, because all of this has been me at some point in time on this left side. Okay. And I have to be real with myself on that. And then now that I've tried to start a morning routine and not rush so much and actually make a little bit more time, that right side is starting to take over the day instead. Okay. So as I think we just had one more person join in. I saw it kind of go up. Okay. Welcome. If you just joined us, we're kind of looking at the left side or the right side to see how do you normally start your day, what phrases resonate with you, and then what we can do about it. So if you just joined us, we don't want to leave you out. So if you are reading the left side and then the right side, which one most resonates with you as far as how your day goes? All right. And I see my friend Tori, and we actually went to college. That was my college roommate. Just joined us. Glad to have you. Okay. So on to the next one. So, okay, this was a pause and reflect that I mentioned to Jackie about doing. And if you don't want to pause and reflect and write on paper, we can voice it, or you can put it in the chat, or you can just mentally think about it. Write down how you think a morning routine may help you sort out things you have been trying to get more enthused about doing. Again, I mentioned to you that my mood was off. Okay. I was not feeling effective because everything was rushed. Okay. So we're going to take about 1 minute or 30 seconds to a minute just to kind of maybe make a few notes on that. And if you need me to go back to the other screen, I can too. Okay. Anybody want to share?
Hi, Jennifer. This is Tori. I don't mind to share.
Okay.
I think one of the things that helps me in my morning routine is if I get up before the other people in my home and kind of have time, like to kind of like just take a minute to like pray and like also like think about the day ahead and think about what I want to do in the day ahead and how it needs to go. And I think just having a few minutes of like time by myself, I think it's probably the most helpful thing that I have learned to do.
Right. I thank you for sharing. And a lot of us may end up having that morning wake up time where you're like, oh, why did I have to wake up? Or do I need to pray? What do I need to do right now? I think that's the urge or the nudge to say, hey, you still have some stuff to do. Or if you're dreaming about it, it's like, hey, your day is about to begin early today, So trying to actually maybe have a set routine actually helps with that to where you feel more organized with those times. Someone else mentioned it provides me with a focal point, so I'm not all over the place and get things sorted and defined before I set myself in motion. Definitely. That's the point of today. Exactly. So, okay. Thank you guys for participating. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'll go ahead and share. My name is Karen. Hello, how's everybody doing?
Good.
I would just say, like, I'm a rusher as well. Mm-hmm. However, I feel like when I do get up and I take the time, I'm more focused, which means I don't forget this, I don't forget that, and then I just try to. It's more intentional, like as I set out, for my day. So, yeah.
I agree with that as well. I know a lot of times my daughter or somebody will say, I left my cheer outfit, or Mama, can you go get this? Or you realize that you left something on the counter. And a lot of times it's when we're rushing and just try to get that last 20 minutes of sleep. And then I did some reading even on that. When we keep hitting snooze, we're starting a new sleep cycle. So when you're starting a new sleep cycle, you're in that part where you're still going to be groggy if you wake up in the middle of that sleep cycle. And that's a lot of times why we find ourselves not quite right if we're awakened really suddenly like that. And that a sleep cycle is anywhere like 2.5 hours, I think. So if you didn't get, when you hit snooze, if you didn't get those whole 2 hours, whatever, you still may feel like uneasy. And it actually said like you may not feel well until like later on that morning, once the whole cycle would have ended. Then you start to feel like, oh, now I'm awake. And a lot of times we try to say, oh, it's coffee or whatever. But doing some reading on this, I realized, okay, quit hitting the snooze, figure out what my time frame needs to be to have a good night's rest, which is also, just important to being a productive person and dealing with all the overwhelmingness and things like that of our busy days. So here are some tips for establishing a morning routine. You have to do what's right for you personally, okay? And this is where we get into the mindset. I can't tell you what your mindset needs to be, but I do know that God wants you to be productive. Your husband, your kids want you to be productive. You want to be productive. So if some of those things deal with, okay, I'm so rushed, I didn't even spend time with God, and I am so lost right now. I just need to spend some time to make sure I reconnect and read his word. That could be something that you need personally. It could not be. If you're feeling overwhelmed, or do you feel that you have no time for yourself, or are you feeling depressed and anxious? And I'm just kind of bringing in scripture here. It says we are God's children, and if children, also heirs and heirs of God and co-heirs of Christ. And indeed, we suffer with him so that we may also be glorified with him. And I put that in there as a reminder of saying, like, okay, know who you are. Does he want you to be like this? So, and more as we continue, more scriptures will be brought in, because I feel like that's really like what helps guide our day too. And that helps us set the correct trajectory. So you'll see some of that sprinkled in here. Some other things is to hydrate. Okay. And I mean, we say our bodies are a temple of God. We need to take care of these bodies. And when we hydrate, we're less hungry, which means we may not overeat. It decreases cravings, and it helps your body in releasing toxins. Okay, which begins maybe the movement of your bowels if you are having problems with that. And so just think about, what are you putting in your body at the beginning of the day? So personally, I can speak on saying I would normally go get that coffee first thing. And now, since I've started trying to hydrate, I think that I feel better. I'm moving better. And I'm using water more, or I put a little lemon in that water, and I can tell a difference. So any comments on hydrating?
A couple of years ago, Jennifer, I was actually having some problems with my blood pressure. And one of the things that my doctor even told me was like overuse of caffeine was like really an issue with my blood pressure and with health things I was experiencing. And so I have like started drinking about 128 ounces of water every day. And I am thinking my blood pressure problems are gone, but they were talking about all the health benefits of water. And actually caffeine can work against you as far as like, your cardiovascular health and other things. So you're so right. Water is just like super, super, super important. And one thing I did was I found out about water too. It's a natural moisturizer. So even like our skin, like it moisturizes your skin, like it just has so many health benefits. So definitely I agree with you on the water for sure.
Yes, that is true. I know back before COVID, when I used to go and try to get a facial every now and then, the lady would look with that light and say, your skin is dry. How much water have you been drinking? And I would have to confess every time. So I agree with that.
Hi, Jennifer. I just wanted to jump in. And Tori, I agree totally with that, your statement. And like you, Jennifer, I thought I was drinking a lot of water until my hair was shedding a lot. And my stylist was like, how much water are you drinking? I said, I drink water every day, but I was not consuming as much as I thought I was. So if you aren't sure, or I would just encourage us all to be intentional about how much we're consuming. I've seen the big gallon jugs, and I bought one, and when I'm really, focused on drinking it, I'll get halfway through and then get busy or distracted or whatever. But I was surprised that I was not drinking as much as I thought I was. So gauge it. They have cool trackers, or just mentally track how much you've consumed, to try to make sure we're getting enough water, because it does impact your skin, your hair, your organs. And Tori, I didn't even know about the blood pressure piece, but that's very helpful to know.
Yeah, it was really surprising to me too. Like, because I wasn't a coffee drinker, but I was a soda drinker, and I started having like really some significant blood pressure problems. I'm over 40, and they couldn't find anything wrong with me, like as far as my heart or my cholesterol, anything like that. And they tracked it back to maybe it was overconsumption because it makes your blood vessels constrict. And so, sure enough, like once I kind of let that go, it started self-correcting. So I'm thankful I was able to do that without medication, but it was kind of an interesting situation. I didn't know that was having that much of an impact on my body.
Yeah, I started to kind of do an intake and say, okay, what have I really taken in today? And not only just what I'm drinking, but what I'm eating. And a lot of times I realized I overate with sugar, and then starches. Like if I had a pastry for breakfast, then I had a sandwich for lunch. Then for dinner, I also had some bread with like pasta. It's like too much. So yeah, I mean, now I'm going into food, but just what you put in your body. And then a lot of times that wasn't even with a lot of water. I may have had one bottle of water like this. And then I had to start putting it. That's why I had to do a check. I had to do a self check, and hopefully you guys are thinking through that now too. But I have to put lemon in my water to want to drink it. I even would drink water with apple cider vinegar in it before I would just drink it plain. So that's my thing that I have to work on as well.
Yeah. I'd like to add, Jennifer.
Go ahead.
So I can always tell when I wake up in the morning if I've gotten enough water the next day. So when if I wake up kind of sluggish, like how it's like you know that you've slept enough, but you feel like you haven't gotten enough sleep. What for me personally, I've started to attribute it to not getting enough water, or basically feeling dehydrated, because I'm not a person that typically would have headaches, but there have been times where I'd wake up like with a faint headache. And I'm like, oh my, I know I got good 8 hours of sleep. Why do I have a headache? Well, I literally have started keeping water by my bed. So just in case I haven't gotten enough water in, I'll drink before bedtime as well. But what I found is that next morning, I can always tell, like if I've gotten enough water in, I don't have that, sort of faint headache. I feel a lot more refreshed after a good night's rest. But if I haven't, I don't know, it's like you feel sluggish. And so I do attribute that to, at least for me, just being dehydrated.
Yes. I can relate to that too. So hydration is a part of your day that could help you throughout the rest of your day if you started early in the morning. Most definitely.
And what's funny about that too, if you make it part of your routine, when you don't do it, like you were just saying, you do feel bad. I feel like you feel like you don't feel good. Like if you're used to drinking water and like you don't get it, I feel like you also feel, you just feel bad.
Right. So the next part that we have is exercise. And y'all, I hate trying to always exercise. I'm going to be honest, but I know that the family has started to try to come up with things to keep us going and have movement. And that's the point of what this is to me. With your morning routine, you want to make sure that you either stretch so that you can actually move and walk without, right when you get out the bed, your knee fall over, or have y'all ever had that where you where it buckles over and you're like, hold on, why did that happen? Or your feet hurt right when you get out the bed, or you realize that your back is aching. And a lot of times, and the hydration plays a role in that too, but a lot of times if you don't ever try to intentionally get any kind of exercise in, you're going to experience those things more. So why not start out, however your routine needs to be, but if it's in the morning, let's say that you do 10 minutes, 20 minutes. And with me, with my personal story, with me hating the exercise, I started to walk. Walking is who I am. Okay. So I started to walk. Again, that's waking up. And again, I don't have a good, like perfect routine. Waking up, I get the bottled water. Okay. I might drink to here. After I put the lemon in it. And I'm like, yeah, okay, guys, let's get ready. Everybody's running around, I mean, Tori used to live with me. She knows I had a crazy routine in the morning, and she would wonder when is she gonna clean this up after getting dressed and trying on clothes in that dorm. So it didn't change too much, but I'm trying, Tori. So that's why we're doing this. So and I said, how am I gonna fit exercise in there? So I started to walk, and that was going up and down the sidewalk in front of my house. Multiple times until I could at least get like 1,200 steps in. I know that's not a lot because everybody goes with this 10,000 rule and all that, but 1,200 was a lot for me. That was a change for me. So that started to come into my morning routine. And because I did that, I felt like I had something that I put into my day that I owned versus me running for the kids, running for my parents, running for my boss, running for my husband. It gave me something to be proud about. And I got to listen to like music or podcast or something just for that little time. It could have been 15 minutes, but I was happy about that time. I don't know if any of y'all have ever felt that way. But when you're exercising, it boosts your energy throughout the day. And it helps with your focus and cognition. So if you have that morning meeting, if you've been walking or get some fresh air or have some kind of exercise, you could actually be at a better place in your mind for that morning meeting. You'll be in a better mood. And I mean, again, we're taking care of God's temple and just putting that in perspective as well. Here's some more things about exercising. Keep your mind and body in shape by going on fresh morning walks. Okay, that's that part. Okay, take a moment to appreciate God's creation. When you're going on that walk, you may notice the birds are chirping. That gives you some peace sometimes. You could use that time to repeat biblical affirmations or listen to worship music and just meditate and observe God's creation. And that within itself helps with the mental. Okay. So if you just was on a rush and you just got in the car, started speeding, so had road rage, dropped your kids off, got to work late, boss upset, your mental, it can get really messed up. So just taking that time, actually starting out right, meditating, doing all of that actually can help you have a good day. I just had a message. I have a raised hand. Okay. About Miss Williams. Does Miss Williams need to, would you like to say anything? Or was it by accident? Okay. All right. At any point, you can always stop me through this because I want this to be interactive. Okay, so third we have, and it really should be first, is prayer. And prayer helps to glorify God, develop a relationship with God, and makes your requests known. That morning routine, if it involves prayer, could actually help your day go better as far as you just making sure that you've actually connected to the divine. I was talking to some girlfriends the other day, and they were like, I started noticing things were off. I was fussing at my kids. They were fussing at each other. And, you go through this whole thing and you realize, did I even give time to God today? But I'm sitting up here trying to make myself be responsible for things or make something happen. But if you start the day off praising him, if you start the day off worshiping him, he guides your day, and just ask him to seek him. Just ask him to guide your day. You will notice a difference. And again, seeking that help because we can't do it on our own. And as we go into that, it mentions in the Bible about how very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went out to a solitary place and prayed. So why shouldn't we? If you never prayed in the mornings, here are some different prayers. Just take a moment to praise God. Psalms could be a good book to read if you kind of are new to that. Create a gratitude list. A lot of people leave out God and just say gratitude and I'm thankful, but we have to know who gave us those things. Pray for specific needs. This could be that time when when you're heavy hearted, like I said, taking care of parents, taking care of kids, or whatever, when your heart is heavy, starting your morning routine, interjecting that prayer helps with that. Okay. Or journaling or any of those type of things. Making your request known to God, and then just opening your heart to let him talk to you. On those walks, he could be talking to you. When you're sitting there meditating, he could be talking to you, praying that he's talking to you. So who does God say you are? And I put this in here because if you're dealing with, you don't even want to go through the day, which some of us have those times, or you're depressed and you're just like, why am I even here? Why is this anything? Why am I in existence? You want to think. Someone want to say something? Okay. You want to think about, who does God say that you are? And we have to recognize that we are daughters of the King. Okay. We are his children, and we have to own that. So that gets me into this. Okay. My affirmations in the morning routine. They help combat limiting beliefs about yourself and support a confident mindset. And when said in the morning, positive affirmations can motivate you to do your best and believe in yourself throughout the day. It says, for we are his workmanship, created in Christ for good works, which God prepared ahead of time for us to do. And examples of affirmations could be, I'm excited for the day, I'm grateful for my job, or I will have a successful week. I will be successful. I can do whatever I put my mind to. I'm a child of the living God. And so many more. But we can say these positive affirmations to yourself or write them down daily. Or when you're in the car. I know sometimes I play them in the car with my kids because I want them to grow up knowing, don't talk down. We will have positive mindset, a growth mindset. That is what I'm trying to encourage, because as they're leaving me, I need to help them to be able to be thinkers and not get bogged down with life's struggles, because you're always going to have struggles. But if you start your day off putting God first, making sure that you take care of yourself with drinking the water, exercise, and not messing up your temple, you can have a better week. You can have a better day. Journaling and meditation. You can try to do a 5-minute quiet meditation, guided or scripture meditation. One example is to meditate on the Lord's Prayer. I've heard people say that sometimes if they're dealing with a sickness or if they're dealing with worry, just saying that to themselves can ease their mind for the day. And then, journaling doesn't mean that you have to write 5 pages. You could just write down something you thought of, and that can be throughout the day as well. So some other examples. This lady, I got this off the internet, but she said that this was her morning routine. She read for 10 to 20 minutes. She exercised for 10 to 15 minutes, prayed, and then showered. And guys, even in the shower, you can do exercises. Even as you run around the house, that could be exercise, to do squats as you're going. So I just want to say that, find time. But when we look at this may all just count for 30 minutes of the day. So I want you to think about that. 30 minutes of my day, even 20 minutes of my day. How could I arrange it to where I can have a good morning routine? So that was just one example. If any of you all have already mastered this and want to share, please do. We are listening minds with Tea Time and Align. I mean, we want to align ourselves, and the more you share, the more we learn from each other, the better. So does anybody want to share right now?
Jennifer, hey, this is Tori again. Something that someone told me just recently, matter of fact, like probably maybe in the last 3 weeks, was like we were kind of talking about just getting bogged down like in life's daily tasks. So a lot of times you have to go from task to task to task to task, or thing to thing to thing to thing. And she shared with me this devotional that she read about how this woman had decided, there was a woman, she'd written this, and she had decided that as she went through what we would probably think are like trivial tasks, or like just kind of like, taking my children to school, doing the laundry, doing homework. She just said that she kept in, like, oh, her overall mindset was that any work or anything she was putting her hand to, she was committing to God. And so it kind of gives you like an idea that when you're helping a child with their homework, for example, I mean, yeah, that's a day-to-day function, but that also could be a very like that could be a very precious time with your child. And so instead of just like seeing it like it's just something I have to rush through and do, like really committing that to God and trying to be intentional about what you're doing during that time with your child. Instead of just like moving from task to task to task to task to task and just like doing it out of a sense of just obligation.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I've also heard things about like, okay, if you actually put into minutes and hours how much time you have to really raise your child, and then you'll start to looking at stuff like homework is different as well, or those morning routines is different as well too. You know, you may think, oh, this is the time when I can tell them, oh, this is how you would deal with peer pressure, or this is the time that I tell them, don't let anybody treat you a certain kind of way that they should, you know, that you shouldn't be treated, you know. So those little trinkets just throughout the day, those lovable moments, those times when we can embrace our children, like Tori said, during your homework time, that actually stems from your mindset and how you interact and engage with your children. You know, if you started your day off right, and seeking the Lord, I'm not saying you won't have any battles, but he can guide you through them, and you'll start seeing that you can deal with stuff a little bit better. Let's say you even have a troublemaker. Well, if you prayed before you started the day and gave yourself that time and was like, okay, I've deposited into me. Now let me handle this task that I have before me. I mean, that's even with teaching. I mean, okay, let me first, okay, did I meditate? Okay, I'm going to walk into this school and I don't know what's going to happen in this school. That's the other reason why I started looking at meditation and prayer too, because at the school I'm at right now, there's a high discipline problem, right? It was a lot of fights, and those fights would mess with my spirit sometimes, because sometimes they would get kind of brutal. And I had to figure out, how can I calm myself and make sure I have a good day? Okay, Ms. Williams, would you like to say anything? I see your hand is up. You want to unmute? Or is it just an accident? Okay. Does anyone have anything they would like to share about their morning routine right now? Does anybody have a great one they would like to share that maybe we could all, you know, even if you don't have kids, what's your morning routine? If you do have kids, if you're older and all your kids gone, you know, what do you do?
I have a wonderful routine. It's fabulous, but I caught a cold.
We can still hear you.
Well, when I caught the cold, I realized my routine went out the door, because the only thing I could do is stay in the bed. So my routine is going around and around in my mindset.
Right. But you know, it doesn't have to be where you get up. It could be where you're meditating and praying and writing, or on the hydration part, just something new to add to where you can stay more focused with whatever your daily tasks are, whatever they may be.
What I learned, if I could just share about routine, I used to have a really set routine until God showed me, stop putting me in that box. So we got to be careful of our routine too. So, you know, just really allowing the spirit to lead during the day. You know, as you get older, you get a little wiser as you get older. So I used to literally have 5:30, I'm doing that, 6:30, I'm doing like, you know, and at this stage right now in the season is not as stringent as it was, because I was becoming more robotic. Because, you know, tradition, you have to get up, you got to pray, you got to read the Bible, you got to do all that, which are good things. Those are good foundational things to do if you never had a routine. But the only thing I would put in there, just be careful of that, you know, because sometimes we get so used to doing something, and then when God starts to shake up your plan, you're like, oh, wait a minute, what am I supposed to do? No, wait a minute, I'm used to doing it this way, you know. So just be mindful of that. You know, I had to learn the hard way. I'm still going through it, but I've gotten better to really wake up with, as far as you're saying, the mindset, just the mindset of knowing, okay, God, this is your day and you are allowing me to, you grace me with this day. What is it that you want me to do in it? So that would be the only thing I would like to share about routine, but more importantly, the mindset, just making sure that he is the one that's actually controlling our day, because I have a struggle of controlling my day, kind of like telling God, okay, this is what I'm going to do today. And he's like, no, we're not going to do that today. So just be mindful of that. That's all.
Thank you for that, Jim. That totally makes sense and is a part of what we're saying. I mean, just to give us that precaution is very important, because we know that we can't do anything without him. And when we try to control too much, that's when a lot of those the negative mindset starts to come in, because we couldn't control it. So thank you for sharing that let God lead. And I think that once we realize that it's not about us and our plan, it's what he wants us to do, is we can be it can actually be okay for us when changes happen. It doesn't get us in a tizzy. It's like, okay, that's the flow today. All right, well, if that's the flow, then that's the flow. And then just be like, I'm with you, Lord, and you be like, oh, you wanted me to do that. Okay. So yes, that's part of it. And how do you even know when God is saying to do that? By at least being in tune or spending time with them. So thank you for sharing that. And I will be very careful not to make sure that as I'm in my journey for this mindset and routine, because like I said, I did not have a good routine. I was it don't matter. It's okay. I didn't do this. That was me. But it would be in a negative way. Like my husband would be like, we had that today. You didn't tell me. Oh, okay. We'll just turn around and go here. That I would be so easygoing to where it wouldn't. So thank you for just bringing that back up. We have to make sure that we are allowing God to use us, and that it's his plans that we're trying to follow. Thank you so much. Anybody else?
Jennifer, I'll just share too. I think sometimes with our morning routine, I know for me, for example, I know I'm sorry, who was the lady that just shared? I didn't catch her name.
It's Denise.
Huh?
It's Denise.
Denise, yes, ma'am. Miss Denise just shared, kind of about getting rigid. And I'm one of those personalities too. I can get kind of rigid on what I want to happen as far as in my mornings. But one thing I have found too that helps me, if my nighttime routine is better, then the morning routine is actually better as well. If I go to bed kind of with things figured out, kind of settled, then the morning when I get up, I'm not doing as much shuffling. If I go to bed and everything's out to where if everything's kind of done at the night before, if Josiah, all of his things are signed, if everything's done, then I feel in the morning too, it's not as hectic. And that's kind of a different, I know it's a nighttime routine, but it kind of is a preparation for the morning routine.
All right. So I'm not going to keep you much longer, because I know that this is typically a 45-minute to an hour time frame. But just before we leave, I just would like for you to actually write down a morning routine you would consider and make it just right for you. Each person is different. And what changes would you make to your current one after today's session? Kind of think about that. And if you win in the morning, you win the day is one of the kind of the quotes that I have tried to think about a little bit more. I have another person that says, yes, not able to come off mute, but the nighttime routine is crucial for me. Okay, that's what Amber just shared. But that's really all right now. If you would like to spend some time just pausing and reflecting and seeing, okay, what is your routine right now? And it could not be something that was mentioned today, but something that you know about, a little gem that you would like to also share with all of us ladies. Please do. But just think about, what would you change to your routine right now? Some people say gospel music, prayer. Okay. What would you change to make your routine a little bit better? Or did you notice anything? Are you just happy with it? Stop hitting the snooze button. Yeah, once I read that, it made total sense about the sleep cycles, that I was just destroying my own self, because that really would be me. I would feel better after like 9:30. Getting up on the first or second alarm, someone said. Someone else said, I love the idea of being more flexible. So, if you already have a rigid one, you may think, okay, I can relax a little bit, or have more structure to my mornings. I have struggled with that since transitioning to working from home. Need to create boundaries. See, we all have different work environments, different lifestyles. So that's why this should just be general information for you to create more of what is right for you. Like if you're in retirement stage, you may feel like, okay, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to write in my journal, and then I'm going to sit outside in my patio and drink coffee. That could be a great routine, and it could help you have a better day versus I'm going to watch the news and hear a lot of sad things go on. We have to be cognizant of what we're putting in our minds every day, what we watch on the TV and everything else. Okay. Someone else said, instead of dreading getting out of bed, I allow myself to be awake. I begin to thank God in my head. I wiggle my toes, I move my legs, and it helps me prepare for the day. Yes, it's kind of like, okay, I'm alive. You've actually been in a state of just, as close as we could to death, probably when you are asleep. So you do have to wake up. That's that stretching too. If you wake up and never stretch, you kind of get a little achy. Okay. So with what we said today, I hope that it's been something to help you think about, or, just think about, okay, one thing I can take away to make my life just a little bit better, or help me to push forward, or change my mindset. If it's like I said, it may even deal with your mood, and that's where I start seeing myself. I was cranky because I'd be like, I'm trying to get here. I'm trying to, now she wants this and now they want this, or, and you have to just stop and say, did I even take time for myself? Did I even give time to God? And as we ask ourselves those questions, then hopefully our mindset and our morning routine and our affirmations will get better and grow. And that's it, Jackie.
Can we all give Jennifer a great big round of applause? Thank you so much, Jennifer. So many nuggets, so much wisdom. And I love the beauty of this community because we learn from one another. And really, if we can just walk away with one nugget to make our lives better, we're all going to be better. And not only does it impact us, it impacts everyone that we come in contact with. And at one point during the presentation, it reminded me, it just came, as unto the Lord. If we move about our day as unto the Lord, whatever we do, I think Tori had mentioned that, whatever you do it for the glory of God. And it's like, just continue to move with intention. And I realized that today we are 90 days away from the end of the year. Exactly 90 days. And I was one of the people that have heard that it took 21 days to change a behavior or to develop new ways of doing things. And I was doing some research here recently, and I learned that wasn't true. And it kind of goes back to what Denise said, a lot of things that we hear and we think that is fact. And then you go back and it's like, no, not necessarily, so there's always another way of looking at things. So regardless of where we are, there's always an opportunity to make things better. So Jennifer, we thank you. And I want to challenge us to try to incorporate some of these gems that she's imparted today. Even if we just take away one thing that she shared, to, just drink your water. They say drink water and mind your business. If we could do that, you would be surprised at how rejuvenated you feel. So think about your one takeaway. I think some of you have put some in the chat. Feel free to do that. And I want to get a group shot. I see my buddy Karen on the line. It's so good to see you. She is a remarkable lady doing great things. And all of you are remarkable. We see some new people. It's so good to welcome LaShawna, Dean, and Amber, Rainey, and also Tori. Thank you all for joining. And to the regulars, it's always good to see you, Dr. Croslin, and my mom, and Tina, and Jada, all of you, Aunt Roz. This is our time. This is our space. So if anyone else would like to share, feel free to do so at this time. And if not, you're welcome to fall off. I'm going to put some jazz on and we're just going to catch up. But thank you all for joining us for Tea Time and Align. We try to gather on the first Sunday, same time, same place. For those that are new registered, we hope you join us again next month. Thank you all for joining. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.